Okay, so I made quite a lot of tanks in Scrap Mechanic, and they were all cool, especially my glass tank. I quite like it, but like they just aren't very practical. I mean, even my hover tank, it's loads of fun to mess around with. It's loads of fun to just like drive around, but it's not exactly practical to destroy stuff or be a tank. So yeah, today we're gonna make a tank which is better than all the other tanks I've made, hopefully. So let's start. Now this tank's gonna have to have a good weapon, it's gonna have to have good armor, and be able to move relatively quick. So the first thing we're starting off with is the weapon. So the first thing I'm gonna start off is make the ammo, because that's gonna be the most important part of it. So this thing's hopefully gonna shoot large explosive, but we'll see. So at the moment this is a test, so I'm just gonna add some more spud guns, just so this is like, see how good this is. So we have around 17 spud guns, which is quite a lot, so let's see how this starts. So let's test this thing. Now, with 17 spud guns, this thing goes quite far, but not far enough, since this thing has to have like pretty good range to be a proper tank. So first I add some more spud guns, which should help. So let's test this out. And as you can see, it had a lot more velocity, which is helpful, but we can still do better. So I'm going to add quite a lot more spud guns, but in a bit of a weird pattern. I'll explain later. So let's test this thing out. And as you can see, it goes a lot further than any of the other ones, which is going to be very good. Now, the reason I made the spud guns in this weird pattern is so that I can basically, it's going to help with the auto reloading. Because this thing is going to automatically reload. Now, this will basically just help a lot, and I'll explain in a minute. So I basically welded 4 of them like this. So basically, when we use one ammo, another one can rotate into place, which will make it auto reload. So let's test this out. And as you can see, that was not very effective, since the next ammo just kind of like blocked it from actually leaving like the actual cannon, which is not very useful. So instead of like tweaking that cannon, I'm going to make a completely another one. Now this thing is going to be very similar, but it's just going to help a lot. So now I'm going to make the ammo. So let's test this new one out. And as you can see, it's pretty much the same as the old one, but quite a lot better. So yeah. So we're going to use the exact same method for auto reloading as we did before, and now this thing should auto reload. Now there was a problem that it did explode, which is quite a problem, but we can solve it. So yeah, basically the problem is the auto reloading thing just rotating apparently made it explode for some reason. I don't know why, but it did. And as you can see, I'm basically just going to add a sensor, so it'll only reload when there's no nothing in the actual barrel, which should help. And as you can see, it almost works. The problem was just a few pieces of the metal which basically stopped it from rotating, but that was an easy solve. It did have quite a lot of recoil, which won't be a problem when we actually put in the tank turret. So anyway, we're going to have 2 of these, because this thing's going to be a massive tank, and it's also going to be pretty effective at destroying stuff. And as you can see, this thing looks pretty epic when you fire stuff. It's actually quite satisfying as well. And as you can see, it automatically reloads most of the time. I mean, there was a few problems, but it was pretty easy to solve. Now, the next problem was that they were hitting each other while reloading, which means none of them reloaded. Now, there's a pretty easy fix for this, which is basically just make it so one reloads, and then when that one reloads, the other one reloads, which is pretty easy to fix. And as you can see, it works quite a lot better now. Except yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, this thing's pretty much finished. But then I had a problem. I didn't know what to work on next, the turret or the actual tank body. Well, I chose the turret, and yeah. So yeah, now I just need to weld this to the turret. As you can see, the turret is kind of massive, because the actual weapon's pretty big. Now looks pretty cool, to be honest. And yeah, now I'm just adding like a base to the turret. This will just be attached to the floor of the tank, just so it can rotate. I also added bearings, so this thing will be able to point up and down, which should be quite useful. Now I'm going to add a seat on the actual gun, which is going to be quite useful, so we can actually like control it. Now, the problem that you get flung out the tank when you leave the seat is kind of annoying, so we're going to have to put the seat a bit lower down. So yeah, now we do kind of need to put it even more lower down, but there are two logic gates underneath the seat which you need to remove, which is kind of a pain, but I've managed to move them. And now you don't get catapulted out of the tank when you leave the seat. And now this thing can point up and down, which is going to be pretty useful for firing and aiming. And as you can see, we can now fire, which is going to look pretty cool. I mean, this one didn't properly reload for some reason, and it happens quite a lot because it just rubs on something, but most of the time it's a pretty easy fix. But this was a pretty easy fix, since all we had to do was move the seat one block back since it was blocking the ammo. The next problem is that there's some cardboard rods, which are a part of the ammo, which basically don't get shot out the tank and just kind of stay inside, and sometimes might hit the ammo and basically make it explode before we fire it, which is kind of bad, but it's a pretty easy fix. All we need to do is add some spud guns, they'll destroy it before it can do anything. So as you can see, it still works, but the problem is there's still tiny pieces of cardboard that sometimes hit the explosives and blow us up. Now this is a pretty easy fix, just make it so the spud guns activate one tick before, but I got a bit sidetracked and added like a sight so we can aim, kind of, although it doesn't really help. As you can see, it works fine now, which is pretty useful. And anyway, now we can move the turret, which is quite helpful. Now we can aim. And this thing does loads of damage. So now we just need to make the body of the tank, since the turret is mostly complete for now. But there's an even bigger problem. This thing is basically a gigantic brick, but I know how to solve this. Basically just get rid of the edges. It's a pretty easy fix, but makes it look quite a lot better. I also added some armoured glass to the actual site, which probably won't help, and it kind of looks ugly, so I'll probably get rid of it later. But it's there for now. Anyway, I noticed a problem with the cannon. It's going to be useful for destroying big farm bots and buildings, but it won't be good at destroying tape bots or hay bots. So we need an actual spud gun. So I'm just going to add this to the top, and this thing's going to be pretty big. This thing's going to have 8 spud guns, which is going to make it do quite a lot of damage, which is going to be quite useful. I had no problem here. I basically deleted the tank and then forgot to save it with the spud gun, so I've got to build another spud gun. Don't worry, the whole tank's still here, just without the spud gun. So let's build this again. And as you can see, it's pretty effective. There's loads of range, which is going to be pretty useful, and it does quite a lot of damage, which is going to be very useful. Then I got sidetracked and started making a trapdoor at the top, which to get in and out of the tank, which could be pretty useful. But this is quite fancy, since this is opened by buttons and not switches, so it will look quite a lot better, and also a lot cooler. Then I made a ladder kind of thing, so you can actually get up to the actual trapdoor at the top, which should help. But anyway, now we need to add wheels, but these wheels are kind of small, and they're not going to help a lot. And also, bots can one-shot them, which is going to be pretty bad if we can't move. So yeah, we're going to make custom wheels. So these things are going to be built out of wedges and concrete, which is going to give them quite a lot of, well, HP, because even if a haybot destroys one bit of like concrete or a wedge, it won't matter, since the tank will be able to move forwards. But there's going to be a little secret inside these wheels. There's going to be thrusters. There's thrusters inside them to give them more power. So basically, there'll also be, well, there'll be two forward thrusters and two reverse thrusters. So this thing can go in reverse, which might be useful. So I'm just going to add like, give it a bit more of like a design, because they kind of look a bit plain right now. And anyway. So yeah, here's how they look. I think they look pretty cool. But anyway, let's attach them to the actual tank. And I just put the wheels on one of the sides, and it looks pretty cool. And let's just do the other one. So you can see, this thing looks pretty cool. It looks kind of menacing. So anyway, we need to make this thing actually move. But instead of doing that, I did everything possible not to do that. So anyway, I'm going to add some side armor to give the wheels extra protection, and also just give the tank extra protection. Now this bit's going to go over the wheels, and then so it's going to go on the side, and it looks pretty cool. But anyway, now I'm going to make a tank cannon, because even though it won't actually work, it's going to make this thing look a lot cooler. And now this thing looks actually pretty cool. It looks a lot better than it did before, but we might have to shorten the barrel a bit. And anyway, this thing looks pretty cool, but the problem is, the explosives basically hit the barrel and blow it up, especially when you're on an angle, which doesn't help, so we're going to have to shorten it a bit. So anyway, yeah, we're just shortening the barrel, which should help. And as you see, it no longer blows up. And it actually has pretty good aim. But anyway, now we just need to try and make it move forwards. Now, the problem is, now, even with all the thrusters and the engines on full power, it does not go forwards, which is a problem. So now, instead of adding reverse, I'm going to swap all the reverse thrusters for forward thrusters, which should make this thing a bit better. So as you can see, it's slightly better, but still not great. Then I had this big brain idea. Instead of using an electric engine, I used a controller on loop, which actually made it go quite a lot faster than it did without. So this is actually a pretty good speed, and this is only half the wheels. Now as you can see, it almost goes as fast as you walk. It's a bit slower, but it's still pretty good. But anyway, now we're going to add tank steering. So basically, this isn't proper tank steering, it's kind of a bit different. It uses quite a lot of logic gates, but it basically makes it a lot easier to steer. As you can see, we can now go forwards, we can slightly turn. This thing won't get up any hills, since, yeah, it just won't. This thing does have a pretty bad turning circle, so I think I'm going to add some thrusters just to help with that. So yeah, just adding all the thrusters, and now it should turn quite a lot better. Now, this might look like a minuscule difference, but it's a much better than it was before. Now, we're almost done, so I'm just going to cover up all the, well, things I don't want to see in this. And then we're actually going to add some extra ammo in the back, because this thing will take ages to reload without just welding a new, well, ammo on. So this is going to be really easy to reload in a small amount of time. And also, we're shortening the barrel. Now, the barrel's going to be really short, which isn't really a problem. It might not look as good, but it just causes quite a big problem. Makes the tank explode itself normally. So anyway, this ship can take quite a lot of damage, except to the back or the turret, because it kind of just blows everything up. I mean, to be honest, it didn't actually blow the ammo in the turret off, but like, it's kind of just broken. It's like completely destroyed. So anyway, this thing is pretty good. It's not great on armor, but it can take a few shots, except for the turret. Except this one, yeah, it just explodes it when it's to the turret. But yeah. Anyway, this is a gigantic rocket launcher I'm sitting on, and as you can see, it cannot survive it at all. It does not have the greatest armor, and if I did want it to have really good armor, I would have made it out of tier 3 metal. But anyway, this thing's still pretty cool. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. This was loads of fun to make. It was also pretty good. It's much better than all my other tanks. I actually might quite use it quite a lot. Anyway, does have the problem that it only runs on physics 3, because this seems quite laggy, but it works fine. Now, this thing might not move very fast, but it's still a pretty good tank. It might not have great armor, but it's still pretty good. I quite like it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed and bye.